so important, especially when it comes to Blackness and the things that colonizers have done. This example of religion. What was it like finding these people? How did you connect? What was how much time did you spend with the folks in here? And what was it like meeting Professor King, who was literally working to change language and to reclaim it and to uplift this religion that for so long had been demonized?
It's a very long question.
Sorry, I ramble sometimes.
No, I think it's important to make clear that this is Professor King's idea and intention to make a film about his own culture. So he was trying to do that before I came on board, and he knew Nazi. Some people here know Nazi because he's a famous musician in Brazil. So they were trying to find people to put it together because he knew he had access to something incredible and magical and important. And Chica and I had other projects that talked about religion and as forms of resistance and things like that. And the DP at the time that was working with him, that went to Nigeria once, he knew us from other projects, so we kind of connected. But when I met Professor King, we kind of fell in love with each other. Because I like his point of view, on the world, on religion, on culture, and all that, which I guess a lot of people here now understand as well. And I think it's very important to share his vision. And it was super nice to work with him. It took 5 years. And just going to Nigeria, going to Europe, and then there was the pandemic. A lot happened, in the process. But it was a somewhat magical process too, because when you deal with stuff like this, I think you have to kind of surrender and kind of let it happen. So it was very organic how it happened. I had to follow him in Nigeria and try to find the story. We had 200 hours of material in the end that I had several versions of the films, went to several labs and workshops and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think with something that you do that I think is just also really respectful about the way that you navigate the story or are able to find these is that there's just so much care, and you can tell there is a relationship between you and Professor King and the other people within the film as well. And I think even these depictions that I feel like, for unfortunately somebody who lives in a colonized space and has these structures, as someone who grew up Christian, there's these things that I have in my head that I continue to push out and reject and again decolonize. But I think there's these images that I feel that are so beautiful in your film, where in other places I would feel are fearful. And kind of what was it like being able to showcase the sacrifices of the animals in a way that was respectful and not afraid? What was that process like?
Yeah, I think Professor King was leading us a lot. So when we were shooting those rituals in Nigeria, for example, he was telling us what we could film and what we could not. But we could film almost everything, pretty much. Sometimes we would just jump in front of the camera and say no when we couldn't. But I think the intention is to let him speak. That's why in the film I start with that dialogue between me and him, because he's like, yeah, I want to have the chance to speak in my film and say, because I think it's important, And he does that, and that's the whole intention. So that's why I think it comes across as respectful, and it's his vision, it's not mine, but I kind of made it happen, with what I had. So yeah, it's I think it comes back to being his point of view on the sacrifices and all that, and what was important to show. Sometimes we were in Nigeria, and he was like, yeah, let's go to the Ocean River. Like, yeah, let's go. And then, yeah, we would get there. It was just this magical place, and we would find the story there. And he was very good at telling us what would work in the film, which I wasn't expecting, because that's not what he does, But yeah, it was a real collaboration.
No, I was just going to say that if he was in the room, I think this would be a different film. And so if both of us were like approaching this community, right, from an initial intention, it would be a different film or anybody. So I think just because he was there and he was introducing that space, the whole community understood also, you know, the intention of this film. I think that's why it's so powerful, and it translated the image exactly, you know, what it intended to be. But I just wanted to add, because it is a thing that really fascinates us, how religion and language, you know, create societies and diminishes others, right? And I think from the first film that we did, which was a portrait of the Santa Muerte religious movement, I think there was a connection there with Professor King, where he thought like, well, these people can understand this,
Yeah.
and they might find a way to communicate it. But it was a very collaborative process since the beginning. And all these years, I think it's because we also went to be respectful with the way of the Yoruba culture, right? It's a different time, things were completely different there, and I thought that was very important to translate in the film as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think even with that, you go to so many different places, and what was it very much like you get the call, you go, or were you navigating, like, planning these things, and obviously, as you said, there was the pandemic that affected the process. How was it, like, figuring out time to travel and all that?
Oh, it was super messy.
Yeah.
Because they go every 2 years to Nigeria with a group of Brazilians. That's an exchange promotes between Brazil and Nigeria, which is, I think, is really important. So we went twice, you know, and I think he has a structure there that kind of allowed us to move around freely, you know, and just kind of, like I said, we were following him, and he knew what was interesting, because he wanted to make the film initially. He knew what was important intuitively. And, but it was hard to plan everything. We thought we would be done with the film in like 2 or 3 years, and it's been 5. So.
But it was part of the process also. I think each film has its own process, and even though we went there with Professor King to Nigeria twice, and you know, all these other places that we thought it was important to show this new diaspora that he was creating. But then we met collab, right? Then suddenly this other character who is this a writer and a translator who linguist, exactly, that's the word. Suddenly we got in touch. I don't even remember how that happened, but we felt like this had to be connected to the story. And there was a very also trust relationship of, yes, it was an intention of Professor King, but he put that homework in our hands, and to talk about religion and other things that we wanted to also, like, what is religion, you know, and all the contradictions that are around it as well.
Yeah, I know, it's all really beautiful, and again, I can continue asking more questions and talk about how just beautiful these shots were and all these things, but I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the audience and see if anybody has any questions out here. Yeah?
Hi, first, congratulations on the movie. It's not a question per se, but it's actually something that I wanted you guys to address and comment. Can everybody?
Can you bring the mic over to him so the rest of
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to ask you both to comment about the symbolism of the waves, that it comes every now and then in different parts of the movie, and what does that represent for you guys? And my second question would be, why do you guys think that it's okay in Western culture to naturalize yoga and Western Eastern culture, but it's so what is the word? Forbidden when it comes to African cultures and religion. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with the sea, there's a scene that he explains the rituals are just the nature, are the ultimate expression of nature. So there's the 4 elements there. There's water, there's fire, there's the wind, there's the earth. But the seas were prominent because I think it's also it symbolizes a lot of the relationship between the continents. That's what we can kind of allude to, like the slave trade and that relationship in a very subtle way without being disrespectful. So I think that it speaks to all these things at the same time in a very nice and beautiful way. And I'm a Pisces too. So.
We're too.
Oh, yoga.
We put water in everything.
Yeah,
Vices.
that's the that's the extension of the process of colonialism and imperialism that we all live through. That's why yoga is more viable commercially. For example, I'm just saying yoga, but there's like a lot of other practices that are much more easier to, that have already been introduced to the West. I think this is very associated. That's what the film is about, actually. That how this religion is associated with Black people, and Black culture and African culture, and as a means of control. I think you cannot, simply just make it part of society in a super nice and integrated way, and all is good. We still suffer through all of these processes, of colonization and all that. So I think people are starting to come out and say, when we made the film, a lot of friends just came out and say, oh, I'm part of the religion, but don't tell anyone. So I think that's an effort. That's what the film is too. Is that one more effort, in a sea of other efforts to naturalize this. And that's what Professor King was trying to do. That's why the dictionary, I wonder how clear that is, but for 350 years, it sure has been translated as the devil. Just because it's convenient for the capitalist structure to associate that with the devil and keep people poor, hungry, working really hard, and anyway, I can go on and on, but that's why, it's. Which ones? Chico wants to say something.
Because what your idea?
No, that's why the image, right? The images in the beginning of the devil. People kind of, after they watch the film, they forget too that all those images of the devil, they're like medieval images. It comes from way back then. This is a process that started a long time ago, and it's very convenient to keep it that way. So we're trying to change it.
Thank you. 2 more questions. Yeah.
Hello, amazing film. My question is, because you guys said you had 200 hours of footage, were there any moments, events, or individuals you met that you didn't get to put in the film because it didn't work out or didn't fit with the structure, but that are notable, if that makes sense, that you remember?
Yes. We could make 3 of our other films because we had a lot of people. Yeah, we don't have the budget. Yeah, seriously, all these, we had to pick. That's why it took 5 years, I think, because we had to cut out a lot of things. There's the people that work in the dictionary in Brazil, for example. They're amazing. They're linguists in Brazil that worked a lot and that have been working for 20 years, and I feel really bad that they're not in the film. There's other representatives of other Orishas in Nigeria, like the Yami Oshonga Orishas and the Oshasi Orisha. We met all the main Babalos and the main priests and priestesses of every Orisha when we were in Nigeria, but we focused on Ishu only. So we could do a series about Orishas easily. And also Croatia, and we spent a lot of time in Croatia and Spain, And we went to Serbia. There's a lot of material that was left out.
Next time.
One last question, if y'all don't mind passing them the mic. Thank you.
Wondering about your own perspective and experience of the Slovenian folks with the practice of the Yoruba tradition as a way of kind of reconnecting with their own kind of ancestral paganism. So just a little bit more of your own perspective and experience.
Yeah, I think that's a really good expression of how hegemonic colonialism and Christianism has destroyed the whole world, because they have very little to hang on to, and their gods and their archetypes are very similar to the Yoruba ones, and then when you start looking into it, you realize they're just very universal archetypes. But that connection was really strong between them, because Professor King, I think, met them when he was there, and the main person that appears in the film was a translator, and they got along, and now they have a temple there, and they do initiations there, but they have initiations of Yoruba culture in Orishas and Candomblé and Mada here too, everywhere. That's, to me, that's just one example of how this culture is super universal, and I think she uses the word universal when she's talking about it. And it was very interesting to see a lot of, that's why it's in the film like that, is a lot of white people just banging their heads or dancing. And that happens a lot too, so I think that's the second or third diaspora, the African diaspora that's been happening. And I personally believe that that's a very old religion, the Yoruba religion. It's the oldest we have, and we should respect it more, because it's very powerful, and it's amazing. The things I learned, I already knew about, but I learned so much more just talking to these people, and it's so powerful, and we have to respect it more. So I think some people are kind of realizing that, and they realize it in Slovenia, for some reason. Other people can understand that too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Another round of applause.